Welcome to the Virginia is for Laughers podcast, brought to you by X2 Comedy. If you're looking to get more out of your Shenandoah Valley experience, then this is the podcast for you. You'll meet interesting people, musicians, and comedians that perform here and find out more about what you can do and see. Whether you live here or plan to visit, listen to explore what makes our unique slice of heaven. Now here's your host, Don Davis Womack.
Hello, laughers. Today we have the pleasure of sitting down with Abby Chick, the owner of Blakemore's Flowers, a renowned floral shop in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Abby has been flourishing in the floral industry for 17 years, and her shop has been voted Best Flower Shop in the Valley by Daily News Record and has also been serving the community proudly since 1942. Recently featured online for her work on sustainability in the florist industry, Abby is not only a successful and dynamic business owner, but she is also an amazing floral designer, innovative educator, and mentor, dedicated to making floral design both practical and profitable. We're thrilled to have her on the podcast today to share her journey and insights into the world of floral design and sustainability. Welcome to the show, Abby. It's great to have you on today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here.
I am excited to have you here. I am delighted that I walked into the shop to find out who to talk to the other week. And you were right there, and I got to meet you, and we had a fabulous conversation, and here we are now. Can you believe it? We are making things happen.
We are, and it was a very funny conversation, I think, as well, we should say.
I think we should. And I think this is a great segue, because I don't want to give too much away when I ask this next question, but it is a great segue. Can you take us back to the beginning of your floral journey? Did you always want to be a florist?
Of course not. No. I was actually working as a florist for probably 6 or 7 years before I woke up one day and was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm doing the thing I should be doing. I think I've been doing it. And it was a part-time job that I got to sort of get me through while I tried to figure out what I was going to do with my life. You know, I was like completely oblivious to the fact that it could be a career. And like, I like flowers, you know, as much as the next guy, like who doesn't like flowers, but
I like them.
I wasn't overly moved or in love with it. It was something that I feel like, okay, I don't suck at this. I'm pretty good at it. People tell me I'm good, and it's fine. I don't hate my job, but it was just through a series of unfortunate that turned out to be very fortunate events that I sort of woke up and realized that this was it. This was not just something that I could be successful at in the long term, but it was my passion, and truly, I feel like my life's calling to do the work that I get to do every day. I feel very, very lucky on a daily basis. It keeps me grateful that I somehow stumbled into the perfect career for myself.
How old were you when you did the part-time job as a florist?
Fresh out of the womb. I
love it.
I was 19.
Okay.
I was 19 when I got
fresh
my
out of
first
high
job.
school.
Yeah. Well, fresh out of a break from college where I was doing a little too much partying and not enough studying. And my parents were like, we're gonna get this train back on track here. You know, I needed a job while I figured out, okay, what am I going to major in? Like I went through like 6 or 7 majors that I never even completed. I mean, still to this day, I'm just like a few credits shy.
Really?
Yeah. It just, nothing really ever grabbed me. I would take classes, and I would try to put myself or imagine myself doing the job. Like I was a criminal justice major for 2 semesters. Like, what was I going to be? Was I going to be a cop? For those of you, I'm 5'0", and
yeah,
I was
she's a tiny bit,
10 pounds. That's what you call me, a tiny bit.
Yeah.
So it was like I had these visions of grandeur in different fields, but then when I would break down the process of what it would take to get there, I was just like, man, I don't want to do that. And so I would kind of go back to the drawing board, all the while having this seemingly okay job,
Yeah.
and kind of just being too stupid or preoccupied with what my life should look like to realize that it was kind of right there in front of me. So.
What was the pivotal moment then where you were like, I think this is for me after all?
It was actually after I bought Blakemore's.
No way.
Oh, yeah. I bought Blakemore's because I was like, okay, this is the prudent thing to do. You've been doing this for 7 years. This is, the shop has become available. My best friend called me up out of the blue one day and he said, you ever thought about owning your own flower shop? Because his mom had been the bookkeeper here at Blakemore's and she knew that the owner was going to sell it. And it was a great business and it had been in the community for a long time. And she told her son, she's like, yeah, I really think, if you just knew someone who knows anything about flowers. And he said, well, only my best friend, has been working. And so, it was just, and it was on a particular day where I was off work and I was feeling lower than low and a little bit dejected about what I was going to do with my life. And then my phone rang. And it was my childhood best friend that was like, I've got a crazy idea. And so we did it. And I just thought, all right, why not? What else have I got going on with my life?
Just own a flower shop because why not?
Shop. Yeah, but it was doing the job and really making the commitment to something. And I remember going through like a weird period of mourning. This is going to sound terrible. As someone who is like the biggest Harrisonburg cheerleader now, I never wanted to live here. I grew up here and there was like this thought of failure, of somehow ending up here. And so making the decision to buy Blakemore's, I was like, well, I guess I'm going to die alone in the place that I grew up, being just old spinster with my flower shop. Like I really went into it just thinking like, well, this is all that my life is going to be. And Blakemore's serving this, I'm not going to cry. I am not that girl today, but serving this community and seeing the way that it showed up for my business time and time again, and getting to connect with people on a deep level like you do when you are selling them flowers. And we can get into that more, but you end up getting to know people very well. And you just feel honored that they want to share their life with you and their story and choose to spend their money with you, to sort of relay their feelings to other people. It's, I have the world's least thankless job, and being able to do it here, it made me fall in love with my town. It made me fall in love with flowers. It made me fall in love with every part of it. That's
beautiful. And you haven't ended up an old spinster. First of all, you're not old, but you are. You're welcome. But you're also now married, and I believe you have children.
I am. I actually, my husband and I randomly got together the day after I took over Blakemore's.
What?
I kid you not.
You knew him from before? He's from the area?
He was one of my brother's best friends. I knew him for years, and I just was like, didn't think about him that way. And it was the craziest week of my life. I'll tell you that much. Like
you're buying a floral shop. You're meeting your husband.
I took over the business on a Friday. Got with him on a Saturday, and then, it's been a really beautiful life ever since. I got a 2-for-1 special, Blakemore's and Matt at the same time. So.
It did.
Yeah.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to meeting Matt one day. And you and Matt have how many children?
Just one.
Just one.
She's a handful, though. She's plenty for right now. So.
Okay. And how old is she?
She's 5.
Okay. So she's getting ready for Christmas and looking forward to all of that.
Goodness. Yes. She got some wrapping paper the other day, and she's just been practicing wrapping things around the house.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Does she ever come in the floral shop and help mommy arrange flowers?
Was here earlier, yes. She goes to preschool here in the city, and so it's really lovely just to have. She has her own room back here off of the office. We have a little Lena room, and yeah, she's been a part of this, and during the pandemic, like when everything was shutting down, I was like, well, you're just coming to work with me from now on. So you're already in my pod, kid. So you're coming to work when you're 2,
Right. Because why not?
Yeah, why not?
That's a theme going on in your life, and I'm loving it.
Yes.
This is a beautiful shop that's been known in the community for quite a long time. I'm sure it's seen some evolution, but you have now the reins. And what do you specialize here, and what are you best known for?
I think probably we are best known for our everyday arrangements. I mean, we've always done a lot of sympathy work. So funerals, whether or not you like that part of your business, it's a big part of your business. And that's probably the part of the business that I feel the most passionately about. And also the thing that I will let a designer do a bridal bouquet before I'll let them do a casket spray. I hold that so much more sacred. So that's a big part of our business. But, we definitely have a lot of plants, a lot of gift options here. We've done snack baskets and sort of your traditional flower shop offerings. But now being in the new space, we're able to expand on each of those quite a bit. And the workshop space is probably the thing that I'm most excited about with the new flower shop, just because we have the ability to bring other people in and teach them how to do different floral crafts, which is something that I love. And I also really want to let other artists in the area who don't have a space where they can necessarily teach and let them be able to come in and use it. And because we have so many talented people in the area. And so, the yarn shop downstairs.
Yeah.
I was like, if you ever want to have your knitting circle upstairs in my workroom, just go for it. So we ended up having the public tree advisory board meeting the other week in there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And I sat in and I learned so much. And I was totally interrupting their meeting. I was asking all of these questions. I'm like, so what's your ratio of planting trees to taking the, and I talked to a guy who has a bonsai club. I'm like, come to the shop, have your meeting here. I just really want it to be a space for all and for lots of different creatives to come in and, be able to teach what they do.
Oh, that's really wonderful. How many people can you fit in your workshop?
Well, it kind of depends on the craft and what you're making. So we have a wreath workshop coming up actually next week.
That sounds fun.
Yes. I might be skipping ahead to maybe your questions are.
I think you're doing great.
But yeah, we have a wreath workshop coming up next week, and we were hoping to keep it to like 15 to 20 people. But it occurred to me, and I asked Kirsten, who, kind of owns the place. I was like, what if I want to invite more people? She goes, well, just open up and set up in the hallway. So I was like, oh gosh, I could have 30 people, where if the event space is upstairs, I can, with a little maybe more notice, I could have 50 people. So I think that that's the really cool part about this building is that it's very versatile and there's lots of different locations that you can kind of host workshops and do different parties. So yeah, but I think probably 15 to 20.
Yes. Laughers, that is the train. We are at the Liberty Mercantile building, the new one.
It's part of its charm.
It's part of its charm. The railroad tracks are right behind this building.
Yes, I love it.
It's pretty cool. So it happens about this. This is a pretty clockwork time for it, isn't it? About 6 o'clock.
I'm starting to learn its schedule. We've been in here for about a month now, and I think I'm finally starting to learn when it's going to happen. But
Yeah, it likes to announce itself.
Yeah.
We get it. We hear you.
The screeching at the end is truly the most magical part of it.
That's its signature sound. That's really exciting. This wreath making shop, I think by the time we release it, it might have passed, but will you have more things like that?
Yeah, we're having 2 this month just to kind of kick off our workshop series. But our plan is to have 1 each month that we host, and then allow, like I said, other people to come in and host workshops, because it's like, what else is the place doing at night? It's just sitting empty. Somebody better use it. So we have a centerpiece workshop a little bit closer to Christmas. And then the 1st of January, we will unveil the next 6 workshops that we'll be doing. And we plan on having different skill levels because sometimes, that's the thing that I don't like about workshops is that if I went to a floral design class and you went to a floral design class, in order for us to both feel like we got our money's worth, you and I might need to take a different level.
I would definitely be in the novice level.
Yeah. So, and we have so many wonderful arrangers here in the area who do have a little bit more experience. And so I would like to be able to offer some higher level classes as well for people who really want to take it a little bit further, and they're doing weddings on the side. This is a hot destination wedding area, and we have plenty of people who do it out of their homes who could really benefit from, a little bit more guidance than just the basic entry level class. So, floral education is a huge passion
and business
for me. Yes. So that's kind of the other part of, my world that it takes up. I mean, it was born out of Blakemore's and through teaching my employees. I love that. I love sharing. I mean, I'm a nerd. Like, I'm obsessed. My husband says that floristry is not a job. It's a way of life for me. So I'm always devouring anything I can get my hands on about, just new design styles or methods or techniques. And I love sharing that with my staff. And it started very slowly, several years ago, but eventually I paid a floral design teacher and she said, "You really know your stuff. You should be teaching."
Oh, that's great.
And it was just like, oh, really? And so it's a totally new avenue for me. And it's just really exciting to start building something else. Blakemore's has been really great, and it's, I've had it for 12 years, but this is a new career path for me that I'm really enjoying. And it feels like a second act in my old age.
Your spinster life.
Yes.
Yeah. Whatever. How do the Laughers find out about these workshops? Do you make the information available on your website, or how does that all work?
We do. So you can purchase them off of our website directly, or you can go to our social media. We always post about it there. And I'm planning on having maybe a more formal calendar. Technology is not my friend. But I have friends who understand.
Same here.
So, yes, one of them was like, "I'll help you get this
good
organized." So, yeah, but definitely following us on our Blakemore's Flowers account and my personal floristry, Abby Chick Flowers, especially if you're interested in not so much just what we sell, but the educational component. That's where I give away a lot of stuff for free on that account, on Abby Chick Flowers on Instagram, because I love to ramble. And I've got access to the whole world. I can just go live and teach people right through my phone. So oftentimes I'll do that. And my friends, they always tune in and they were like, I love watching you design. And I'm like, I always wonder who's watching these.
Yeah, that sounds, I'm going to have to watch some of those too.
Yeah.
That's really exciting that you just go here live in your shop and do it on Insta.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
I got no shame.
I see. I see. I saw other goodies in here too. You got, you do fruit baskets also, gift baskets, greeting cards. So this is not just a floral shop.
No, and we have delicious snacks and candies and lots of, you name it, we've got it.
I would say, and you were recognized as the best flower shop in the Valley by Daily News Record. What do you believe? I think you've mentioned some of it, but what do you believe sets your shop apart and contributes to this prestigious recognition?
I think probably, yes, do I believe we have the prettiest designs and we take really good care of our flowers and we pay attention to, the varieties that we get in that I know perform the best. All of that, plays into it. But I think it's the way we treat people. I hear consistently feedback from our clients that always feel that we really listen to them and that we take our time to find the right gift for them. And it's not always the most expensive thing. We're not just constantly trying to upsell them on, bigger is better. But I'm always happy to point people in another direction too. If I don't feel like I'm going to be able to give them the best of, what they need or what they're looking for, we actually have a ton of great florists in this area. And I'm always happy to say, you know what? I'm not in love with the red roses I got in today. And if that's what your heart is set on, you might want to, call this person. And if not, we, circle back. We can try to help you out tomorrow. And so over the years, people are just so shocked by that. They're like, oh my gosh, you guys were so nice. And I'm like, I'm in customer service. What else was I supposed to be,
Yeah.
So I think it's that. I think that we really, really care. We honestly do. And I'm very particular about the people that I bring in. My employees are my best friends. Just sad to say, but they are. They're my family. And I don't, just continue to hire people to make arrangements and build the business. I keep it small and I really make sure that the people that are here working want to be here and care as much as I do about the people that we're serving as well.
How do you go about doing that? Do they go through some sort of challenge or interview? How do you figure that out?
A very specific, I've been really lucky over the years, word of mouth. I don't like to advertise that I'm looking. It's normally like a vibe with somebody. And I don't hire for a position. I hire the person. So, for instance, Keisha, she's been with me now for like probably 4 years. She's a photographer in the area and she had no floral design background whatsoever, but she, needed some part-time work. And I knew her casually and I was like, I really like her. She's a person that I would want to be around.
Yeah.
And I hired her solely based on that. Like, I didn't get into this. It's not going to make me rich, but I didn't get into this of the stresses of owning my own business to not like what I'm doing. And who you work with every day is a huge part of whether or not you like your job. And so, once I have like my core team, I don't do interviews by myself anymore. I'm usually one of the last stops of the people that you talk to. Everybody on my team is on board with somebody before we bring them in, because they're the most important people in my world. And just hiring based on that of like, everybody likes this person and feels like the vibe is good. And it's been incredibly successful. Yes.
I love this approach. Thank you for sharing that. We are really lucky to have a jewel like you for sure. And your shop and other jewels in the Valley that set themselves apart, like gourmet popcorn from our sponsor, PrePOPsterous, Shenandoah Valley's only award-winning popcorn. I have brought some cheddar popcorn to enjoy while we talk about this. But I also noticed I spied some PrePOPsterous right here in your shop.
Of course you did. You know, they're nut free, and that's part of the snacks that we specialize in. So I was so happy to have them. And we got the Duke variety to show our school spirit.
I saw it right when I walked in. That is good popcorn flavor too, right there. I love it. You can't go wrong with any of their flavors. And that is especially wonderful that they are nut free. And their kernels are grown right here in the Valley. So it's completely local. And it makes a great gift for any occasion, birthdays, anniversaries, and Christmas, which is around the corner.
It's pretty enough to string up for the tree, but it would be such a waste not to eat it.
I agree on both fronts. Well, PrePOPsterous offers our laughers a discount. Laughers, just use promo code LAUGH15 to get a 15% discount when you visit PrePOPsterous.com. That's PrePOPsterous.com. And you can choose from a variety of their delicious sweet and savory flavors today. Or choose holiday-themed flavored options like gingerbread and peppermint. Don't miss out on this popcorn. Now, as I keep eating it, back to you, Abby. Your floral designers, who we were just talking about a little bit, have won awards for creating beautiful combinations of the freshest flowers available. How do you and your team stay innovative and maintain a high standard of floral design?
Well, you have to stay in the know. You can't, rest on your laurels or coast, especially in this industry, because flowers are fashion, and it's like when I go on Instagram, I'm working because I'm scrolling and I'm looking at what other floral designers across the world are doing. And it's sometimes hard for me to shut off that work brain because I'm taking in, beautiful works of art, but I'm also thinking, oh, how'd they make that? Or what's that variety? I've never seen that flower before. Where did they get their hands on that? And then and so it ends up being work for me. But I think staying curious and following other people, in the industry and looking at what other people are doing and what they're making keeps you current. And you really have to. Flowers are fashion. They really are. And so obviously being in a smaller town, there's a little bit of a trickle down, we're not on the cutting edge, we're not in a major market here. So things that are happening in the UK and then they hit over in California, the trends take a little bit to make their way here, but usually I'm ahead of the trends, which I like that. And the other thing I have to say is I usually keep at least one high schooler staffed.
Really?
Oh, yeah. They'll tell you what the cool kids are looking at these days, and they'll teach you how to use the apps that you don't know. I mean,
the 5 million apps that are out there.
Yeah. So I think you also have to realize that you are only, a portion of your market. And so I've always mixed up lots of people of different ages to keep my finger on the pulse of what people are wanting. So I have a lot of old timers like myself, and I'm going to stop making jokes about this.
Back to the spinsterhood.
But yeah, keep some fresh blood, in there to just bring in new perspectives and just staying open. You have to stay open to new ways of doing things or you become stagnant.
I agree with that. I'm very interested And your remark about checking out what other people in other countries are doing. I'm wondering if you have any interesting stories or moments where you saw something that's very different in another country or countries and thought, ooh, I want to bring that here and twist it and do it a different way.
Oh, yeah. There was, well, I like to think that I've become more discerning over the years, but back earlier on when I took over my business, I won a Teleflora scholarship.
Wow.
And so they flew me out to Oklahoma, and I could pick any course that I wanted to take. And their this famous designer, Hitomi Gilliam. I think she's of Japanese origin, I believe. And she comes from sort of that Ikebana background, and where everything is very like minimalist and linear and really delicate and graceful. And that really moved me. I'd never seen anything like that. But also it's like my training wheels had just been taken off, and I was left to fly on my own. And in the course, she introduced these things called Midolino sticks, which are these colorful little rattan sticks that you could weave. And I saw her create these incredibly artistic, colorful armatures with them and colored wire. And I came back from that trip and I made an announcement to my staff so earnestly. I said, we will not send out another arrangement without Midolino sticks in it. I bought stock in these things. And the arrangements I made were god awful.
Really?
Oh, yes. I mean, this is a highly trained woman who, showed how these could be beautiful in this one facet, but there were no checks and balances. I had no designer over me anymore that said, Abby, you need to rein it in. That's not very pretty, And I was like, we're making Midolino sticks happen. And I think about that all the time. And so anytime I get too excited when I've seen something, like for instance, I'm taking a course from these Russian designers right now online. And I'm so moved by the work. And Tiffany, who's been with me for 11 years, I will bring these things back to her because I'm like a kid on Christmas when I'm taking a new course. And I'm like, oh, you should have seen what they did. And she's like, Abby, Midolino sticks. That's like our password, our safe word for you're getting carried away. You need to bring it down. This is Harrisonburg, Virginia. This is not going to go over too well here. So, yeah, it's, not everything is for every area and everyone, but it's fun to do funky things and play. Even if it's something that maybe you'll never end up selling, it's still fun to learn how to do it. And
and try something else. Mm-hmm. And you don't know if it's going to work.
You don't know what's going to catch on.
That's right. So. Unless you try it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. The floral industry often emphasizes, speaking of which, trend-forward designs. How do you balance staying relevant with these trends while serving the needs of your local community, working within smaller budgets?
Yeah. Well, the first thing you have to do is let go of your ego because, and I always talk to other floral designers when I'm mentoring them about, are you a floral artist or are you a florist? Because there's a difference. And a floral artist, people commission them. And there's people out there in the world who do this, who don't pay attention to what a client is looking for. A person is paying them for their specific point of view. But when you are a florist and a retail florist, you are a servant of your community. People are paying you for what they want, Mm-hmm. And so I think that as much as I love all of the caviar blooms, not everybody has the budget for, ranunculus, for 25 ranunculus in their arrangement. I mean, those things are like $7 a pop. So, you have to keep a finger on the pulse of your market and also know that, I don't want flowers to ever be prohibitive to anyone because they can't afford it, because I only stock luxury blooms or I only make arrangements for over $100. That's just never been how I wanted to operate my business. And yeah, so I think like you follow the trends, but you look at things through the lens of reality. And that's been very helpful, I think, trying to navigate that. And sometimes it's hard and you see things that people are doing, you know, like the florist to the Kardashians. Like most of my stuff that goes out of here, it's not going to look that good because I didn't have $25,000 for an arrangement, literally for one arrangement. You know?
To have that kind of money.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of like, sometimes you have to say, well, you know, I'm not a bad designer. I just didn't have that budget, you know, and just be okay with that, with where you're at and the community that you serve.
Still, these flowers are absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I was on your website and I noticed there was a tab just for Abby Chick Designs.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about what that is all about and what personally inspires your design specifically?
Yes, I really love my website. It's what we call an e-florist website, which has the capability of people ordering directly from me, you know, off of my website and not going through a third party. But most of the images that flower shops use are not their own, because it's very expensive to produce good images of, you know, flower arrangements. And even then, sometimes it's hard to know what's going to sell. And so there are companies, you know, since the beginning of floristry, basically, who put out like Teleflora, FTD, those kind of things. You know, they're the ones who had the catalogs that flower shops used so that you could come in and look at a book and say, this looks good. And then, you know, we make that. So then, of course, as we move forward in the technology age and we start having websites, that's now where all of those images are housed. And they're great for what they are. But, you know, I notice more and more every day, I'm like, it doesn't look like what I make. I don't make these tight little balls anymore. I mean, if somebody wants that, that's fine. But there's no variety. Everything just looked so cookie cutter. And so I finally just was, you know, I've started by doing like my own specials on Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and having my friend who's a photographer, you know, take pictures. And then I just decided, why am I only doing this at the holidays? So I really worked on creating some recipes that I thought would be really good for the whole year, that I thought represented the color palettes that I like to use a lot and sort of the shapes and the styles, to just show something different that you can't get everywhere. That's not the same cookie cutter, whether, you know, you call this shop here or this shop in Tallahassee, you know, you know, that everybody's got the same thing. And it's been really great. And I love it. I love when people call and they say, oh, I was looking at Abby Chick Designs. I'm still like, oh, that's me. You like me. You really do. That's how I feel.
I love a couple of things in there I found very interesting. I did not know that's the way the florist industry
Most
works.
people don't know that. Yeah.
Where these are almost like stock images that we're looking at, which would explain sometimes, or a lot of times, where when the floral arrangement showed up, it didn't look like the picture.
Exactly. And that's the phone call that most flower shops are so tired of getting, is it didn't look like the picture. Well, of course it doesn't. It wasn't a superimposed rose on a vase that it wasn't actually really in. And there's a reason for, without making this a 4-hour podcast, there's a reason why we use those images. It's very expensive for the average flower shop to create an online catalog. I mean, these catalogs have thousands of images and people like to see, you know, options, but it would take me years to develop and the money that it would take to get in all of those flowers and the time to get them photographed correctly and, looking, so perfect in a way that it competes with the status quo of those cookie cutter images. I mean, it's actually pretty complicated. And without giving too much away, that's another part of Abby Chick Designs that we are getting ready to launch through my floral education career is I'm going to be selling catalogs of images to other retail flower shops out there. So that they can break away from the cookie cutters and, start showing people really what they can do. Because it's hard to sell something that you can't show. People want to see what it's going to look like. And if you don't have the capacity or the bandwidth to make your own catalog, I want to make that really accessible for people. So,
well, that is going to solve some pain points for the florists out there. And then the other thing that you said that took me a bit back was like recipes for flowers. What in the world? I did not know.
Yeah.
That we have recipes for floral arrangements.
Yeah, everything. Okay, so this is why I think floral design is one of the greatest art forms of all times, because it's not just like you grab a canvas and you mix the paints until you get the exact right color and you create this thing and it takes you as long as it takes you and it takes as much paint, right? People call. They have color palettes in mind. They have flowers in mind. And they also have a price point in mind. And I'm in charge of bringing something, a work of art, together with an imperfect natural product that fits all of those boxes. So that's where I say it's like cooking. You're creating a recipe. It's like, well, I can use 2 ranunculus, but those cost me $7. And if I trade one of these ranunculus, I can get 4 carnations. But then visually, you have to make that look right. So it's very fulfilling for my ADHD brain. It is a very complicated process to bring a flower arrangement to life where you actually have a budget you have to stick to. And, it has to be beautiful also. So you might want 2 more flowers to make it look right, but you don't have the money for it. And you can't just call up somebody and say, hi, I know you said you could only spend $75, but I'm going to need another $10. Like, you can't do that.
Right.
So it's complicated and wonderful and thrilling to me to make it work. And I get to do that all day, every day.
All day, every day.
Yeah.
So is the recipe terminology an Abby Chick terminology, or is this an industry?
That's industry.
It's industry.
Yeah.
I'm learning so much today.
Yeah, because the books and the catalogs of images that come with your membership for the wire service or whatever you're using in your flower shop, it comes with a book that has recipes that you get this, and this to make this design. And so, what's really nice is that the way that I design, it leaves a little bit more open to interpretation. So we're able to really utilize local flowers more when they're in season, because the way that I photograph my designs and the way that I lay them out, it's not so much like, here's a rose, here's a carnation, and they're just all on the same plane in this round ball. It's a little bit harder to sometimes see what some of the background material is. So it allows my designers and I to have a little bit more freedom, that you're looking at something online and you understand this is a representation of what it's going to look like, but we're allowed to have a lot of play with those recipes so that we're not just doing the same thing every day, day in, day out.
What kind of flowers are we known for in this area? What kind of flowers do we grow here?
So we have a lot of local growers. Virginia is a wonderful place for American grown product. We have Mums, obviously, and Harmony Harvest Farm out in Weir's Cave.
Yes, we interviewed them too. They're great.
They have the largest collection of heirloom mums in the entire country, actually. They're really great friends of mine, and we do a lot of work together. So I'm very proud of them.
Yes, me too.
But, lots of really beautiful things like dahlias and lisianthus and stock and snapdragons and a lot of things that you can get from your wholesaler. But if I can get it locally, that's my preference. Zinnias, gosh, I could go on for a very long time. We can grow a lot of stuff in this area.
I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
This is really kind of exciting, to be honest with you. And you were featured online. You go beyond the education and the floral arrangements and the uniqueness and all the expansion you're doing. You also are known for your work on sustainability. Can you share? Yes. Can you share more about the specific incentives or projects that garnered you attention and how they align with your values?
Yeah, I think I got attention for it because I don't shut up about it. I'm a firm believer in just talking about it. I mean, the sad truth is that to most people, not necessarily in the industry, but you would never think that modern floristry is a really, really problematic industry for the planet. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, flowers, it's natural. So most people aren't even aware of just how detrimental the flower industry can be, from toxic floral foam, to leaching microplastics into the water supply, the CO2 emissions just from, transporting, the worldwide flower industry, shipping them all over the world, actually flying them. Shipping is better. So there's a ton of topics here that we within the industry are squabbling over. It's almost as nasty as our current political landscape, to be quite honest. You have a lot of people taking sides and kind of mudslinging on social media at each other, like, oh, you used an invasive and, you're a part of the problem and you use floral foam, you should be canceled. Like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah. And it's wild to people when I tell them about it. They're like, so this national wholesaler, Mayesh, they select designers each year and they put out an educational series called the Mayesh Design Star. And this year they wanted to focus on sustainability. And I have a friend who is a rather famous florist, and she was chosen to be the main Mayesh Design Star. And she told them, she goes, I've got a good friend who really knows her stuff. She works in retail. And so they reached out to me and said, would you apply to do this thing? And so I just got done. My third video is getting ready to be released next week, actually. That is basically just educational resources for florists to make some better choices in their business. I mean, there's so much green waste that goes to the landfill. And there's a ton of unnecessary plastic. Mm-hmm. So my belief system has always just been, we're learning as we go. We can't solve all the world's problems. We're certainly not the worst contributor to, the problem, the floral industry. But, for something that should be so beautiful and so natural, we could be doing things a lot better. Mm-hmm. And, I want to stay in business. I don't want to stop doing what I love because of the parts of it that I'm more ashamed of. And I just want to do my part to, if I find something that works, if I find a floral foam or alternative, or if I figure out a little hack to do something that still serves the needs of my clients that, is a little bit less detrimental, then I'm happy to share that with other people. And I don't want to gatekeep around that topic. I want to share that freely and not be like, oh, pay me and I'll tell you how to do it, in a more green way. I hate that. It's just like, if you want to make change, just tell people what you're doing, just share openly and freely. So, that's been a big part of my year, being a Mayesh Design Star. And I have a presentation for North Carolina State that I'm going down next month to do, where I'll be teaching to a room full of florists about stuff that we've mentioned tonight. So yeah, it's exciting. It's keeping me from doing my first love, which is designing for the community, but it's exciting.
It is exciting. What are some tips for people that are doing some of their own floral arrangements at home? They're just amateur playing around. They're picking some flowers from the garden. They want to try something. What should they know that will be more sustainable? And what are some examples here from your own shop that you do specifically to help with that?
Yeah, seasonality is really key. Like I can get peonies from Chile this time of the year. But we know peonies aren't growing, here right now. So if you care about being more sustainable, think about when you're buying flowers, what's growing this time of year. And right now, it was a perfect time for you to brush up on your ikebana, with beautiful linear stems of, foliage that you can cut outside and just appreciating the seasons for what they are, especially for your home consumption. Of course, come in and buy flowers, like that's my business. Obviously, I'm getting flowers from somewhere right now. But I think, one tip that I have for people, though, just a flower tip, is the 5-second rule.
What is that?
That means if your flower has gone without water for more than 5 seconds, you need to recut it. So a lot of times people will let their flower arrangements, this is such a pivot, but it's so important, I had to say it. If you have a flower arrangement and you see that it's gone without water, a lot of people will just like refill it. Your flower is not going to live. It's not going to drink that water anymore. It cannot retake up water until you open its vascular system and its stem. So that's really what plants want to be happy, is just fresh, clean drinking water. They're just like people. So, if you're playing around with flowers, cut your stems longer than you think. You can make the arrangement shorter as you go. You don't need a ton of flowers to make a big impact. So just make sure they have fresh water and that when you're designing, you're having fun. And for any other tips, you can come to one of my classes.
That was really good. Yeah. Okay. One thing though, on all of that, I have no idea what flowers are in season or not in season. Is there some sort of magical website where you can find these things out? Or how do you find out what flowers are in season?
Yeah. Well, certainly any other time of the year, you can walk around outside and see what's, coming up naturally. Although I don't recommend just foraging, just walk around, because there's some nasty stuff out there that you don't want to get your hands on. And also sometimes foraging invasive things can spread it around more. So the best thing, without being too simple, you can Google it. But, we are zone 6B. And so the government Virginia website, there's lots of links there too to see like what is native to Virginia. I'm really big on pollinators, planting pollinators. In fact, we have some pollinator seeds, native Virginia pollinator seeds that I'd like to see more people planting those and cutting them and using them. Because I feel like that's really important to biodiversity. But some seasonal flowers would be, evergreens at Christmas time, spring bulbs. So, tulips, different corms, anemones, and ranunculus are spring blooms. Hellebore is the Lenten rose. It's the Christmas flower. It's one of my favorites. So there are flowers that are starting to pop out, in January, February around here. We don't have to wait long, You've got mums and dahlias and zinnias throughout the fall. And there's really a wealth of flowers that are seasonal to this area that you can find online. In Zone 6B.
Zone 6B. So if you don't know anything, you can go, what flowers do great in Zone 6B?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. And I guess different parts of the country and the world have
different zones.
How many zones are there?
I don't know, like maybe 9, 10.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
I'm not a flower grower. I just arrange them.
On that note, another tip that I'm actually looking for, a question that I have. I love flowers, and then I feel so sad at the end when they die.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw them in the trash,
Right.
but that's where they go.
Yeah.
I'm just confessing this to all the laughers out there in the world. Is there a better plan than that?
There is. You know, flowers in the landfill are not great.
Okay.
They're just not. They're actually causing more harm when you put, organic stuff in a landfill. So if your flowers are, not riddled with pesticides, if you know who grew them and what was on them, you can home compost them. I believe in this municipality there is green waste. There's the best thing you could do is take them to a larger facility. That way, especially if you don't know where your flowers are coming from, you can, take them somewhere where they can properly treat them. However, for the average consumer, if you just cut them up, make them smaller, throw them outside on the grass, nature will take care of them. You're not throwing them on your food supply. You're just throwing them in your yard. That's fine. That's what I would say. Tell people. I mean, let's be honest.
That's a good tip.
We only have so much capacity and bandwidth, so really, what's the easiest thing for people to do? If you're not going to compost, if you don't know where your flowers have come from and what they've got on them, just throw them out in nature, somewhere where it's not on your garden, your food, vegetable garden. So that's the best advice that I have, because it's a complicated topic, actually. To get into that. Yeah.
Yeah. You were talking about it. I was like, this is a good person to ask.
Where do they go? Where am I supposed to put them?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people listening would appreciate the answer to that question.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
And never, ever, ever, if your flowers come in floral foam.
Yes. Tell us about that.
Please do not dump that down the sink. The water, the green water.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's not a great place for it to go, but that's what's really adding to the microplastics in the water.
Wow.
Situation.
So then what do we do with that? So that actually, I get flowers from my husband, which after today, I'm going to be telling him to go see you.
Yeah.
But he'll order them online and it'll come to my home. It comes in the green foam. And I have done that not knowing this was bad.
Yeah.
So what do we do with the water? Does that go outside too?
I would just dump it outside in your yard. Yeah. Where it's not going into a watershed or anything. Dump it outside and put the foam in the landfill. Take the flowers out of the foam and put the foam in a landfill, because that's really the only place that it can go. And it's, I am not 100% foam free. My business still requires me. I've gotten really good over the years of reducing my usage a lot over the years. It's something in Sympathy Floristry that we still rely on. But there are tons of companies out there that are working on better solutions for it. And we're, staying in the know on that one. So we're working on it.
I like what you're working on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. And you have so much experience now as a boss and business owner. What would you say has been the most significant lessons you've learned about leadership and managing a team?
Go to therapy. That's it. Get your head right. Get your head right. Yeah, it's Taylor Swift. It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Every manager, every boss needs to do a lot of self-work. I cringe, honestly. I mean, when that was the one part of the business that I didn't think about, was that like, oh, you're not just owning your own flower shop. You're going to be a boss to people. And I care very deeply about the people that I work with, but, you know, I actually do, you know, employee check-ins, you know, like performance reviews. I had them do an anonymous performance review of me. I always want to cultivate an atmosphere where they feel very comfortable in telling me if I've done something wrong, or if I'm doing something that they're not happy with. But I think the most important thing you can do as a boss or as a good leader is to call out your mistakes loudly and often. Even if you make a mistake and no one's around to see it, I usually bring it up and I'm like, you guys, I did something really bad yesterday. I forgot to send out chocolates on one of the orders and the customer was really, really mad at me. And I had to end up refunding the entire arrangement because he was so mad that the chocolates didn't go. And that's important because it shows them that it's okay to make mistakes, that you know you're not perfect either. And be willing to just like say you're sorry and own your stuff. It makes her such a better atmosphere for everybody else. It invites them to do it as well. People are way more willing to own their own stuff and not finger point or say, oh, I didn't know that, you know, when you model that for them. That's the biggest lesson that I think I've learned over the years.
That's a valuable lesson.
Yeah, well, you know, when everybody you meet is the jerk, guess what? You're the jerk. I mean, I feel like that's a truth sometimes that bosses really, and when you've been a boss for a while and you go without checks and balances, it can get worse. So it's like constant work that you have to do on yourself.
Yeah. I say, I've been in a lot of therapy in the last few years, been on my own mental health journey.
Good for you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad I did it.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a tragedy that brought me into it, but now you look back and you're thankful for it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you'll read a lot about mental health and they'll say a lot of places, you know, your outer world is a projection of your inner world.
It's true.
And it's true.
Yeah. We have like group therapy sessions back in the back. We all laugh about it, you know, like and that's the thing is I'm vulnerable. They all know I'm in therapy, you know, and I tell everybody, I'm like, do you have a therapist? Do you have somebody to talk to? Because you really need to work this out.
I'm going to start saying that to a few people.
So even though we cry a lot together, it's a very happy place to work.
You got to feel all the feels.
You got to.
Or it gets trapped in your body.
Exactly. I always say better out than in. Just let it out.
Right. Let it out. Just let it process through. And then next thing you know, you'll be an old Spencer wondering why you're so angry at the world.
Just like me.
Well, Abby, as we wrap up here, how best can the Laughers stay updated with the latest with you and Blakemore Flowers on social media or otherwise?
Yes. Follow us on Blakemore's Flowers on Instagram. I tried to TikTok once and I decided it was not for me. But so I'm not on the TikTok, but Instagram is a great way. And on Facebook, too. We do a really good job of updating people about what's happening and things that, you know, we're unrolling.
Unraveling, revealing, unveiling.
Whatever. You know what I'm saying.
I was with you.
That we're getting ready to launch. So whatever.
I think we got there.
Yeah. We did it together.
We co-created that.
Yes. Yeah. I also, every time that you order from us, we collect your email. And so I always send out emails too if you're on our email list. So that's another way that you can stay connected to us.
That's great. And Laughers, we'll be sure to put that information for you in the show notes as well. So if you're working out, taking a walk with the dog or in your vehicle, no worries. You can go back into the show notes when you are safe and sound and get the information that you need. And thank you so much, Abby. This has been amazing chatting about your journey from part-time florist to dynamic educator, mentor, and business owner. I want to be you when I grow up. So thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you. This was so much fun. I loved it.
Me too. So fun. Laughers, whether it's a party, anniversary, birthday, wedding, holiday, or a time of sympathy, Blakemore's Flowers is here to help you. They guarantee all of their products and welcome the opportunity to serve you as their special customers. For more information and details, simply visit BlakemoresFlowers.com. That's BLAKEMORES flowers.com. Or better yet, visit them in person at 76 West Gay Street at the new Liberty Mercantile in downtown Harrisonburg. And remember to take advantage of the discount on PrePOPsterous using promo code LAUGH15 at PrePOPsterous.com today. That way you can munch on it when you join me on next week's episode. And lastly, and most importantly, thanks for tuning in, Laughers. Out of all the podcasts out there, you picked us, and we think that's pretty darn special, just like you. Until next time, keep smiling. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Virginia is for Laughers podcast, brought to you by X2 Comedy. We'll be dropping a new podcast every Wednesday, so check back for another uplifting episode. Come to an X2 Comedy show or let us bring one to you. To find out more, head to x2comedy.com. Be sure to share this podcast with a friend, and until next time, cheers.